Hey everybody, welcome back to Arbitrary 20. Today we're going to be looking at the new monk from the Player's Handbook, Playtest 6.
So yeah, we'll get started with the first change. The martial arts die going from a D4 to a D6, and then every die respectively goes up by 1, so it ends at a D12. But that is just for unarmed strikes now. Monk weapons are no longer really a thing, saying that they say that weapons are now enhanced by weapon mastery. For those that did see the video, I don't know if you ended up watching the video, but Jeremy Crawford, after talking about this, said that this would already be enough to boost their damage, which I definitely think is not the case. But
yeah. It's definitely not. It's the difference. I mean, the math isn't from a D10 to a D12. The math comes out to like 1 damage, right?
Yeah,
or less than 1?
It's 1 damage, yeah. If you start calculating for hit chance, it's less than 1 damage, yeah.
Painful.
And it's just for unarmed strikes now, too. So, whereas before, like if you were using a short sword and you were level 11, I guess a short sword is a bad example because they changed it to a martial weapon, but anyway, if you're using a D6 weapon, and at level 11 it would become a D8, and then and then whatever next level it goes up, your damage die for your weapons would go up as well. But now, as soon as you're level 5, you can't even use a weapon that's better than your martial arts die, because monks are only simple weapons now.
Oof. Yeah. I'd like to see his logic, I guess, in how that all fits together, because I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, I honestly, because with how the weapon masteries are for only simple weapons, like spears and quarterstaffs, which are the only D8 simple weapons, if you're using 2 hands, have flex. So the only point is to use 1 hand to get the 2-hand weapon damage die, which at level 5 you're getting a D8 anyway.
Yeah.
So weapon mastery doesn't really do much for you, honestly. But so I think this is a net nerf overall,
for sure,
to be honest.
Yeah,
but
I'd agree with that.
And then we pretty much covered it. But yeah, weapon mastery is a new first level feature, but monks don't really get a whole lot out of this because the only weapon masteries they would really want are on like D4 weapons. I mean, I guess we can take a look at the weapon table if we want to. So these are their options, all the simple weapons. I mean, like, at best, maybe like dual wielding. They don't even get a D6 nick weapon. The best nick weapon they would get, I believe, is a D4, which would be the dagger, yeah. Because the only D6 nick weapon, I think, is the scimitar, which they wouldn't get access to. So, and they don't get fighting styles either. So, yeah, you're getting, even if you want to do like dual wielding with Nick to get some extra damage, you're getting a D4.
That's all I have to say on that. That's just.
But you also have to use a weaker weapon in the first place. Hand axe would probably be the best. So, like past level 5, weapon mastery is basically just useless.
Yeah, that just boggles my mind. Like how can you think that the damage die going up, and then you get the weapon mastery, but you're only technically really getting like 1 usable one.
If that.
If that's how you're gonna build your character, how is that enough? Because at the end of the day, all you really are getting is just 1 extra damage.
If that, yeah.
If that, I mean, that's an average too. So like, it appears we've made 2 steps forward, but all we did was stay in the same spot, or potentially even take a step back.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just went backwards, but anyway. So yeah, weapon mastery doesn't really do a whole lot. Moving on to the next one, they changed key to martial discipline, so key points to discipline points. But the only mechanical change is that Step of the Wind now lets you take disengage and dash instead of disengage or dash as a bonus action, which, I mean, it is a nice buff, definitely needed, but I still don't even know if this is worth a key point or a discipline point now.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience with Monk, a lot of the what are these called again? Shows you how much I actually use them. I guess the flurry. I've used flurry of blows more than I've used the other two, but the ones are very situational.
Yeah, patient defense is good, but it's just sacrificing a lot of damage.
Yeah, I mean,
when you already don't do that much.
Yeah, I guess if it comes up, you need to use the dodge action as a bonus action, but I don't know. Flurry of blows is usually just better because it's the same amount of expense. So yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about doing a video talking about this, but I honestly don't know if any of these would be broken if they were free, like if they didn't cost any points.
I mean, can't Rogue do like half of those
for
free?
Rogue can do disengage. Yeah, at the same level, Rogue can do disengage, dash, or hide as a bonus action, just an infinite number of times. Yeah, I mean, it does get strong when you're making, potentially when you're making 2 attacks or dodging as a bonus action. But like we said with patient defense, you're trading out a lot of damage. And Monk still isn't even doing the most damage, even if they can flurry of blows every turn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for real.
And then they changed deflect missiles. They say that they made it easier to use in more situations and to deal more damage on average, which I think it's debatable whether it deals more damage. I mean, it depends on the situation and what level you're at. It now does 2 rolls of your martial arts die, which before I think it was D10 plus your modifier, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, this still isn't really a great feature, especially since you have to spend a discipline point to throw it back still.
Yeah. I mean, every time I've done deflect missiles, it's more so been for fun or because I can, and not so much because it's like the optimal or whatever thing to do. I don't know. So at what point do you get the D12 again? You get that
17th level.
17th level. So
yeah, the most you'll ever do is like
24,
13 damage on average.
On average, yeah. But if you're maxing out as 24, I don't know. Plus modifier, I feel like it's in the same. I mean, if not, maybe a couple.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit higher in the damage department, but
basically negligible. But
yeah,
I mean, the damage reduction once you're that high of a level is like okay, but even then, it still doesn't really feel worth your reaction that often.
Yeah. Like I said, it's been every time I've used this feature, it's just for fun. It's never because it's the optimal thing to do.
Yeah, and then on to the new. What, they put that out of order. Okay, we'll go in level order. Stunning Strike now changed to where it's only once per turn, and the stun only lasts until the start of your next turn. So nerfed in 2 different ways when it already was kind of a bad feature. I honestly just don't get the thought process here. I can maybe see setting it to once per turn, but it honestly needed a pretty big buff if they were going to set it to once per turn. Like maybe it still has an effect on a success or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, you've talked about that, about what you've heard other people mention about, you said, or what they said was something along the lines of on a success it stuns, or in a fail it does something else.
On failed it still stuns, but on a success maybe it still dazes or something.
Yeah.
Which is a new condition in 1D&D. Yeah, I don't know, but it definitely can't stay like this. Like this is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone that's ever watched our live plays and seen me playing as a monk, there's been times where I've spammed Stunning Strike like the entire turn, and I mean the weak link of Stunning Strike is the con save.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I didn't think that was that strong. Okay, you locked down a couple of creatures, but I've also burned a ton of potential other options of. I guess burned most of my utility, So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it being on multiple times per turn is bad, but I'm fine with it being once per turn. But yeah, like you said, it has to be better.
Yeah,
You
like
just can't stay like that.
this version of Stunning Strike, I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing I said about the level 2 feature. I don't think this would be overpowered if it was free.
Yeah.
Like if you could do this once per turn, infinite times, I still don't think this would be that good.
Yeah, I mean, even
because you don't even get that much advantage out of it. Before, like, you stun them, and you spend 4 key points on your turn, and then one of them lands and you stun them. You at least got advantage on your next turn of attacks. And you still do remove one of their turns, which that's another reason this isn't really that strong. It's pretty expensive, and it only removes one action from one enemy. And it's probably a weaker enemy because they failed their con save.
pretty much. Yeah. I also just was reading through this and something, it's probably negligible to even hardly bring up, but I noticed that it does say you have to hit with a simple weapon or unarmed strike. Before it was just written as a melee weapon attack, if I remember correctly. If not,
Yeah,
it's just
so
a melee attack.
technically now you could stunning strike with like a light crossbow or something, which, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like the whole range smite thing is same argument pretty much.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't know. I have similar feelings to smite. I feel like melee features should be a bit stronger.
Yeah.
So there's reasons to go into melee, because I mean, why wouldn't you build a ranged monk if you could range stunning strike? It's just better.
Yeah.
Like, just use your better movements to infinitely kite, and then
Yeah, for sure. Like,
stunning strike from range. So like, there's no reason to go into melee. Which kind of sucks, because I feel like the fantasy most people have for the monk is going in and using your like staff and your fists.
yeah, like all the anime protagonists, like multiple punch thing, whatever. Yeah. All that said, it just needs improvement. Melee needs to be improved. We've already talked about that before, I think, hundreds of times. But it needs help. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unnecessary nerf for sure.
For sure.
On to one of the few cool features here: heightened metabolism. New 7th level feature. They can get a short rest in 1 minute, I believe. Yeah, so they can spend a minute and they get all the benefits of a short rest. They can only do that for once per long rest.
I think this is an awesome feature. This is super cool.
Yeah, I honestly think this should come at like level 4, maybe even level 2, but I mean, it's still good. I think this is a really cool addition.
Yeah, it's interesting how they added that and then they took some other things away. Even if you just add this straight up to the current monk we have for 5e, this is still, I think, like A-okay. Like, it's not broken, it's not strong. There's probably some exploits you could come up with for this, but I mean, it's still only locked in at once per long rest, so
yeah,
it's like arcane recovery or whatever other feature is like that, you know?
Yeah, I guess one issue with it being at level 2 is like if you're a warlock, well, actually that's not even a thing anymore, or I guess you take 2 levels of fighter, you can get your action surge back in a minute. That's like the craziest thing I see, but I don't know, even that doesn't feel that ridiculous. But
yeah, we need more of this all across the monk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, they should have just taken the 5e monk, not nerfed it at all, added this on top, and then maybe we would start talking, but like, maybe.
At least then the conversation could go in a
upward trajectory,
positive, like a progressing conversation instead of just, okay, let's patch up the wounds, put band-aids on stuff, and try again.
Yeah, so that one's good. Next change, which actually this happened at level 6, empowered strikes. This was the one that let your strikes count as magical. Now it just lets you switch your damage to force damage if you want to. A lot of people are speculating they might change how monster resistances and stuff work, so I mean, this pretty much ends up being the same. Force is pretty reliable.
Yeah.
Like, in most cases, this is going to be the same.
Yeah.
another name change, acrobatic movement instead of unarmored movement, but I think it still does pretty much the same thing. And then they added self-restoration, which replaces 3 features, stillness of mind, purity of body, and timeless body, and it now allows you to remove the conditions as a bonus action instead of an action. You can use the bonus action to remove the charmed, frightened, or poison condition. And in addition, foregoing food and drink doesn't give you levels of exhaustion. I think this makes those features a little bit less ribbon, like and they have their design note on disease here, which seems like they're pretty much removing because it didn't really have a solid meaning in the rules, and they're just using the poison condition for that now. The one issue this does still have is it's not very useful if you're dominated or something like that. Like, whoever's controlling you isn't going to let you use your bonus action to remove that charm condition. And it's been debated whether that's been the intent of the feature before. Like, some DMs allow it to be used in situations like that and some don't. So it would be nice if that was clarified, whether you're supposed to be able to use it on something like that or not. But another big thing is I'm pretty sure this used to just give you immunity to poison, which included poison damage. So that's a pretty big defensive nerf there. I think they should at least still get resistance. I can see not wanting to give immunity, but I don't know, that is a lot to take away. So yeah, if we want to pull up the old versions here, yeah, so stillness of mind was an action to end charmed or frightened. So that's a buff there. That was a
very much needed buff.
And then purity of body, yeah, immune to disease and poison. So now you just get to remove the poison condition as a bonus action. I think it would be nice to still at least get resistance to poison damage. And then timeless body was the whole you can't be aged thing, and you no longer need food or water. I mean, though it's a ribbon, I personally thought that one was kind of cool. But
yeah. So they just simply removed the can't be aged and put it as a bonus action. Okay, that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any classes that start off with resistances. I think that comes from like racial stuff. But I mean, I'm pretty sure like 10th level, like the undead warlock gets, if not immunity, resistance to necrotic damage, I believe. So
there's a lot of subclasses that get resistances. Yeah. Like the aberrant mind sorcerer gets resistant to psychic damage. And, yeah. At
that point, I mean, it's 10th level. At that point, like if they're getting it, the base class probably could just use it. For sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think
keeping resistance to poison damage at least would be nice.
Yeah.
And then I believe we have deflect energy, replacing tongue of the sun and moon, which I believe is the one that let them basically speak all languages. Now you can just use deflect missiles on any type of damage instead of just bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. Personally, I think this could just be included in deflect missiles and it wouldn't break anything. Like, and then put an actual feature here.
I mean, didn't the previous version of deflect missiles not specify damage type?
It didn't specify damage type, but it specified, we can look at it. I know it specified something that effectively makes it the same, I think.
What?
The old deflect missiles. You can catch the missile if it's small enough for you to hold in one hand and you have at least one hand free. So.
Yeah, I don't.
Which, I mean, the new one is pretty funny in some situations, but I like that it's like. I feel like you might have to debate with your DM on this one sometimes. The new one, it's just damage type. There's no real argument of whether you can do it or not.
Yeah.
I think the new one's better in that respect, at least. But, I mean, yeah, you could catch a freaking ballista bolt and then just throw it.
Yeah. Just catch the sun, no big deal. Throw it back. It's a game of basketball. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, clarification was good. I don't know if it was necessary, but
yeah, this could get
cool.
pretty. I mean, I don't know. It still doesn't seem that good, but yeah, you could catch like Crown of Stars and like, I mean, ridiculously high level stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the sky's the limit there. I agree though. Just put that with, just lump that into level 3.
Yeah, it's not going to be broken. Throwing back a single Eldritch Blast or something is not going to be.
That's too
insane.
strong, dude.
Yeah.
It's too strong.
Especially when you might even be making that Eldritch Blast do less damage, so yeah.
It's too strong. Can't have that.
And then next we have another name change. Discipline Survivor is now Diamond Soul. It doesn't really change mechanically though. And then we have Superior Defense, which was formerly Empty Body, has been redesigned to not rely on spells. So now you can spend 3 discipline points to bolster yourself against harm for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. During that time you have resistance to all damage except force damage. As to where before this was, you can spend 4 key points to become invisible for a minute, and you also have resistance to all damage but force damage. And then you could spend 8 key points to cast Astral Projection, which, I mean, Astral Projection is really only useful in some campaigns anyway, so I mean, I could take or leave that, but the big thing here is the first sentence. I think it's a net buff, personally, because it's a bonus action to get resistance to all damage. She might actually use it. I feel like giving up a whole turn to spend 4 key points and do this, which greater invisibility is really good, but
that's how it's rolled as. You're fully invisible.
Yeah, it's basically greater invisibility, yeah. Which, I mean, neither one of these is broken at 18th level. It could be a bonus action, you become invisible, and you have resistance to all damage. Force damage, I still don't think it would be too strong.
Yeah, I mean, this is late game stuff.
The 18th level.
18th level, I mean, what, wizards got 9th level spells?
Last level, your wizard could turn you into a dragon.
Yeah.
You're better at that point, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, sorcerer gets cool stuff at 18th level. A lot of other classes get cool at 18th level.
This is an absolute joke compared to the sorcerer capstone from the last playtest.
Yeah, I think just the old, I forget what it's called. What do you call this? Not Stillness of Mind. That's an earlier feature. But whatever this was called beforehand, just make it empty body. Yes, make it a bonus action, and maybe add some more.
Yeah,
a little bit more to it, and then it'd probably be pretty good.
All right, and lastly, we have a completely new 20th level feature, Defy Death. If you drop to 0 hit points, you can spend 4 discipline points, roll 4 martial arts dice, add them together, and your new number of hit points instead changes to the total rolled. Each time you use this feature after the first, the discipline point cost increases by 2, and it resets to 4 whenever you finish a short or long rest. It's okay.
I feel like that whole last paragraph's just like totally unnecessary, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't need to like increase by 2 and stuff. This isn't that strong.
Because also at that point, like, in my experience playing Monk, you know, when you get to the point where you're dying or becoming unconscious or whatever,
which is all the time because you have a low AC and a D8 hit die.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Usually at that point, you spent quite a few of your, I guess, discipline points is what we're calling them now.
You might be lucky if you have 4 left. Yeah, you'd be lucky if you can use this twice.
So, I mean, at the end of an adventuring day, let's say that last paragraph sticks. Let's say 3 combats per short rest or whatever. You know, what does that get you, 10? Yeah, that gets to 10. So you have to spend half of the total key points that you have, if you have them.
Well, no, it increases by 2.
By 2. So if, you know, say you're going down every single combat, which is usually, in my experience, what happens.
You'd also be using only this. You wouldn't be using any of your other key features.
Well, you'd have to use half of your discipline points.
You're not using this more than twice for short rest. It's just not worth it at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
it's more worth it to just die and then let your cleric bring you back with a healing word.
The words right in my mouth. I was just about to say that. Yeah, it's cool. It's expensive. Um, I don't know. I think there needs to be more. I mean, I think you and I have screamed forever on every single one of these surveys about how 20th level, like, capstone features need to be stronger.
Oh yeah, no, this
And
definitely. It's interesting. I mean, it's level 20. Like this, I mean, just make it once per short rest, and then make it cost like 1 or 2 key points. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even then, it's still not that good. Like, make 1 or 2 key points, and you just go back to full once per short.
That sounds cool, though.
That
would be
actually
cool.
sounds like a capstone.
I mean, at that point, I feel like that would be worth spending 4 key points. But, you know, the lower you make the cost of component key points, discipline points, the lower you make that, the more enticing it is. But even at this level, like 4 key points just doesn't seem like that worth.
Well, it's only like 25, 26 hit points on average because you got D12s.
And at this level, you're finding
That's one hit.
things that can
that's
you
one
from
hit.
over that.
Yeah, that's one hit at this
Yeah.
level. So you know, it doesn't feel that good.
I guess
Kind of a cool idea, but definitely would need to be better.
Yeah, we'll just, I guess, scream from the rooftops again that, you know, capstone's got to be better. They got to be stronger. That it's cool though. I like the concept.
Yes, so on to the subclasses, which a lot of them actually had some pretty interesting changes. We'll start with the Warrior of Shadow. Shadow Arts has been redesigned, giving the monk dark vision, a darkness that costs fewer discipline points than before, and the darkness can be moved each turn during the duration of the spell, and they can also see in their own darkness. So just right at level 3, they pretty much get their own sort of Devil Sight Darkness combo. They spend 1 discipline point to cast it, and then at the start of their turn they can move it up to 60 feet. And then you get Dark Vision, so you don't really need the Dark Vision spell anymore, and then you still get Minor Illusion as well. Which the big omission here is Pass Without Trace. They're no longer able to cast that with 2 discipline points. Yeah. But I do think they kind of made up for it with this darkness thing. Though, I mean, just like Devil Sight Darkness, this is going to cause problems in team play.
Oh, yeah.
But you can see through it, but unless your entire party is built around Shadow Monks, Warlocks with Devil Sight, and like blind fighters, this is going to cause problems for sure.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Fog Cloud and Darkness have always been like that. It's just, with an entire subclass based around it, the problem is just going to be, like, it's just going to show up a lot more often.
Does that darkness like build on itself in the later levels of the subclass? Doesn't look like it.
I don't think so.
It doesn't really look
It does get synergy with it, but...
Yeah, there's synergy, but there's nothing like...
There's nothing that changes the darkness, no. Which, yeah, it would be nice to either, like, let your allies see through it as well, or, like, maybe, like, pick 5 creatures that can also see through it, or maybe make it smaller so it only affects you, or doesn't affect your allies as much. Something like that to make it a bit better for team play.
Yeah.
But, yeah, these... Oh, go ahead.
It'd be kind of cool to keep it the way it is. I don't know, that just puts a lot of, I guess, pressure on the player to be respectful to your party, but...
It's kind of difficult with how large the darkness spell is.
60 feet?
No, I think it's... we can check. Yeah, it's a 15-foot radius sphere you can put within 60 feet of you. So yeah, I mean, the 30-foot diameter, pretty big. I feel like it will often be a problem.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
For most combats. Yeah.
You definitely can't bet on the player being respectful, like, with the rules. So it'd probably be better, like you said, implement something that talks about choosing a certain amount of creatures that can see through the darkness.
Or just being able to make it smaller or something.
Make it smaller. If
it was just like, at that point it's basically just Shadow of Moil, which is a 4th level spell. If it just surrounds you, you would still get all the benefit from it.
There's definitely things that need to be worked on there, just to, like, clean things up to make it a little better for team play, but yeah, overall I think it's cool.
Yeah. And then at 11th level they did change, well they added improved shadow step that now allows shadow step to be used in bright light. So when you use your shadow step you can spend a discipline point to remove the requirement that you must start and end in dim light or darkness for that use of the feature. And as a part of this bonus action you can make an unarmed strike immediately after the teleportation, which from shadow step would have advantage. So I think that's pretty good. I mean, that definitely makes it worth the discipline point, I think. Because you're getting, I mean, you're misty stepping 60 feet and you're making a unarmed strike with advantage just for one
And at this level,
discipline
it's
point. Yeah.
D8 or D10?
You just got D10, I think.
I feel like they need to make unarmed strikes a little bit better overall. I think we already talked about that earlier, but yeah, I think that's good. I mean, you get movement and an attack for free. Well, not for free, you have to use a bonus action, but it's all encompassed in one.
Yeah, I would say that feature is good overall. And then Cloak of Shadows has been moved to 17th level and it was redesigned to empower the monk while in dim light or darkness. So as a bonus action, while entirely within dim light or darkness, they can spend 3 discipline points to shroud yourself with magical darkness for a minute. Until you have the incapacitated condition or until you end your turn in bright light. While shrouded in darkness, you gain the following benefits. They're invisible, partially incorporeal. You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside a creature or an object. And then Shadowy Flurry. You can use your flurry of blows without spending any discipline points. This isn't bad. I mean, I already think that Flurry of Blows could be free, so I don't know if that's worth it at 17th level. But the invisibility is definitely, like, the reason you would use this.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like, I feel like they should just put something new here and then just make this into the empty body, or whatever it was, in the base class, because it's one level earlier. Yeah, just make this superior defense. You get resistance to all damage, you're invisible.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, like you said, this being a level early, it just kind of feels redundant. And even then, I'd even say this just feels too expensive at 17th level. Like 3 discipline points is just a lot to ask for, in my opinion, just to become invisible when...
It is greater invisibility, so it's not going to end.
Yeah. I don't know.
It does suck that you can only use it in dim light or darkness.
It just feels expensive. I think that combining that into an 18th level feature, and then, however they want to make the cost for the discipline points, that's fine. But yeah, something new probably could be put there.
Yeah. On to the Warrior of the Elements. This has changed a lot. Disciple of the Elements has been replaced with new features gained at the levels a monk normally gains subclass features. So the first one we have is Elemental Attunement. It's a new feature that enhances the monk's unarmed strikes with elemental powers, replacing elemental discipline options like Fangs of the Fire Snake. So they get a new cantrip, Elementalism. It's pretty much like a prestidigitation style thing. But with the different elements, so like earth, water, fire. And then in addition, at the start of your turn, you can spend a discipline point to imbue yourself with elemental energy. It lasts for 10 minutes or until you're incapacitated. You gain the following benefits. Elemental strikes. Whenever you hit with an unarmed strike, you can cause that unarmed strike to deal your choice of acid, cold, fire, or lightning instead of its normal damage type. And then when you deal one of those damage types with your unarmed strike, you can also force the target to make a strength save. On a failed save, you can move the target up to 10 feet toward or away from you as elemental energy swirls around it. And then you get reach. When you make an unarmed strike, your reach is 10 feet greater than normal as elemental energy extends from you. This one is kind of cool, but I do think a damage bonus could be in there too.
So, is this just a free action, I guess, to start that? Because it says, in addition, at the start of your turn.
Yeah, at the start of your turn. So
Okay.
it doesn't take an action or a bonus
That's
action.
cool. I like the movement and the extra reach is cool, but yeah, I think more damage, like you also said, needs to be there. Maybe they could do something like the unarmed strike deals like a D8 or a D6 extra.
This does have the same kind of like cheese strat where if you're a small creature, you can go under a medium creature and punch them 10 feet into the air and then move and then they fall prone.
Yeah. Monks get to have fun in that regard, like Warlocks did.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a crazy
No,
boost or anything,
it's
but
just a good
it's just
meme.
funny,
Yes, good meme.
And then at 6th level, they get a new one called Environmental Burst. As a magic action, you can spend 2 discipline points to cause environmental energy to burst in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point within 20 feet of yourself. You get to choose acid, cold, fire, or lightning. Each creature in the sphere must make a dex save. On a failed save, they take damage of the chosen type equal to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage. And then before or after you take this action, you can make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action. It is cool, but I feel like it could do a little bit more damage, honestly, for a cost of 2 discipline points. Because this is, when you get it, it's pretty much just Shatter, which is a 2nd level spell. I mean, it's cool that they're giving a martial character an AoE feature at all. Like, this might even be a first, to be honest.
That's what I was going to say. I'm happy to see AoE like starting to go towards martials, but I don't know, 6th level, that puts you in between 3rd and 4th for the spellcasters in terms of their level and of spells that they get access to, so maybe 3D could be better. Overall, it's cool. I think that it just needs to match the spellcasters a little bit better in terms of damage output.
And then at 11th level, we have Stride of the Elements. When you use your Step of the Wind, you gain a fly speed and a swim speed equal to your speed for 10 minutes. I honestly really like this one. I like that it lasts for 10 minutes, so you can use this before combat. It'd be hard to justify using this in combat sometimes, but if you can just spend the 1 point to get this set up before, I think it would be pretty nice. And I mean, getting a fly speed is also huge for any melee character, because flying enemies are usually the bane of your existence, so
yes, yeah, for sure. I think it'd be situational to use the Step of the Wind in combat, like you were saying, but I mean, extra movement's always good. Just being able to get yourself around the field.
And then lastly, at 17th level, they get Elemental Epitome. When they use their Elemental Attunement feature, the one they got at 3rd level, they also gain the following benefits. You get resistance to one of those 4 damage types, and you can change it at the start of your turn. When you use your Step of the Wind, your speed increases by 20 feet until the end of your turn. For the duration, any creature of your choice takes damage equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when you enter a space within 5 feet of it. The damage is the same type as you chose for this feature's damage resistance. And a creature can take the damage only once per turn. And then Empowered Strikes. Once on each of your turns, you can deal extra damage to a target equal to 1 roll of your martial arts die when you hit it with an unarmed strike, and again, it's the same damage type you chose. This is pretty cool. They get kind of like a Chardalon's Stride kind of thing. I'm honestly wondering if these could have been like thrown in earlier. This does feel still a little weak for 17th level. Like, I feel like they could have had the Empowered Strikes thing just from the get-go.
Yeah. I mean, is there a cost to any of this? I mean, other than like the limitations of once per turn and
no.
when you use other features?
I think it's all just once per turn. Well, at the start of their turn, the Elemental Attunement takes the 1 discipline point.
Yeah.
So they have to spend 1 discipline point at the start of their turn, and they get all of this for 10 minutes, which is not bad.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I guess I'm tripping out a little bit on the damage resistance thing with in relation, I guess, to the 18th level feature of the Stock Monk, like doing empty body. Is that what the feature's called? I'm sorry.
Yeah, resistance to all damage.
Yeah, like that one gets resistance. I
so there might not be a reason to do them both at the same time, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
I don't really understand the point of the damage resistance other than to determine your damage type for the empowered strikes and things, but...
Well, you're not necessarily always going to have the... I forget
true.
what it's called, but empty body, basically.
Yeah.
It's named something else now. But one small issue I have is that you would pick a damage resistance that the enemy is probably doing. Like if you're fighting a fire elemental, for example, you'd want to pick fire to take less damage. But then the extra damage you do also has to be fire.
Yeah.
So you have to choose between doing more damage or taking less damage. Which, if you could just make it so you choose like when you hit or something for the destructive stride and the empowered strikes. So like you could be resistant to one damage type, but you could be doing a different one when you hit. That's
another reason why I just think the damage resistance is kind of weird. Like I see the reasonings for it, but it just kind of seems a little weird in some aspects. But I guess that's a choice that is kind of fun to make, whether it be more defensive or be more offensive.
Yeah, I just, at 17th level, I don't think you should need to make that choice.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Empowered Strikes is what I was talking about for 3rd level, like what it would need. I mean, earlier you mentioned that that Empowered Strikes could be 3rd level, and I think that's kind of what I was alluding to, but I didn't realize that came that late in the game.
Yeah, that definitely should come like way earlier.
It's just an extra, well, I mean, at that point it's what, an extra D12?
Yeah, 1 extra D12 at 17th level.
But at 3rd level it'd only be like a D6.
Yeah.
Not really game breaking either way.
That sounds about right. An extra D6 per turn at level 3, yeah.
But I'm happy with that. That sounds good to me.
I mean, at that point I think it would need to scale a little better, but...
Probably.
I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting subclass overall. I think the earlier features could be a little better. I mean, I think all of them except Stride of the Elements could be a little bit better. That one I'm happy with. On to the Warrior of the Hand, which was the Way of the Open Hand. Open Hand technique now requires a saving throw for all 3 effects and not just 2 of them. So you have Addle, Push, or Topple. When you hit with one of your attacks granted by flurry of blows, you can have them make a con save to not take reactions, so sort of like a Shocking Grasp. You can make them make a strength save or push them up to 15 feet away, or topple and knock them prone with a dexterity saving throw.
I like the last 2. I mean, the Addle one, I like it. It's cool. I like taking reactions away from creatures. It's very fun. But
yeah, that was actually the one that didn't require a saving throw before. I just looked it up. Yeah, that one. So you could just make them not take reactions. It didn't require a save before. But yeah, I definitely don't think that needed to be nerfed. Shocking Grasp is the same way. They just can't take reactions if you hit them. And that's a cantrip. So
yeah,
you have to spend something to do this because you're flurry of blows. So
yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I don't like the Constitution save there. I mean, would it even be too strong of a subclass to just remove the saves altogether? I mean, maybe for the prone, maybe for the push, but...
I definitely don't think the one needed to be added there.
Yeah.
It'd also be nice if you could just do these on, like, any attack, because often when you're... Like, if you're knocking somebody prone, you don't want to do it in the back half of your turn. Mm-hmm. When you use Flurry of Blows, you want to do it as the first attack, so you have advantage on the rest of them.
Yeah, that feels like the Shield Master feat, where you
yeah.
can bonk them, but
at
great
the end
job.
of,
Now
at the,
your
at
buddy's
the end
dead.
of your turn, it doesn't matter as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that would have been an issue with it before. Not really an issue with this update. But anyway, on to the 6th level feature, Wholeness of Body. Now requires a bonus action instead of an action, and it can be used more than once per long rest. Its healing is now tied to your martial arts die and wisdom. So you can spend 1 discipline point, roll a martial arts die, and you regain a number of hit points equal to the number rolled plus your wisdom modifier, and you can use it a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier per long rest. I mean, seems a lot like the quickened healing feature from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and still not that good.
Yeah. I am happy to see, though, that at least it's a bonus action instead of spending your entire action.
Yeah, that is better, but I mean, before, the old feature was, as an action, you regain hit points equal to 3 times your monk level. Mm-hmm. So, significantly more hit points. And honestly, your wisdom modifier probably isn't going to be that crazy. So, it was probably more healing before. At least once you got... early on, the new one would probably be more healing, but later on, the old one would probably be more healing. So, I don't know, you're not really using this in combat regardless, I feel like. So I feel like the action bonus action thing doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, if you go down, just wait for your cleric or whatever to bring you back up, you know.
Well, you can't use this when you're down, but yeah.
Either way, that's a more effective way to heal somebody, is just wait till they go down and then bring them back up.
Yeah. So you should pretty much just be using this outside of combat. Either way.
So I guess that's a net nerf then, right? Because might be doing less damage. It is doing it on a bonus action. I don't know.
Yeah, it's debatable whether it's. I mean, it depends on your level whether it's more or less healing. I think, but yeah, I don't. I think that's kind of a negligible change, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, actually, probably a nerf. Actually, now that you need to spend discipline points for this now.
You had to spend 2 before.
No, wholeness of body before. As an
bonus.
action, once per long rest, 3 times your monk level.
I'm thinking
No
quick and
additional
healing.
resource. Yeah.
I'm thinking of quick and healing. So yeah, this.
You know,
Fantastic.
trash. Yeah, trash.
Yay. Okay.
Please stop making everything cost discipline points.
Monks are like freaking pimps or something, dude. They just gotta spend the money, dude. Shoot.
I
Okay.
don't know. Anyway, on to 11th level. They now get Fleet Step instead of Tranquility. We'll have to read that because I don't even know what that was before. You can use the Step of the Wind option from your martial discipline feature without spending any discipline points. Cool, this should be a base monk feature.
Yes, it didn't change anything at all, I don't think.
Before, no, this was completely changed.
Completely changed, my bad.
Beginning at 11th level, you can enter a special meditation that surrounds you with an aura of peace. At the end of a long rest, you gain the effect of a sanctuary spell that lasts until the start of your next long rest. The spell can end early as normal. Yeah, this is pretty terrible, because then you make one attack and then it's over for the entire day. So one attack can miss you for the... Okay, yeah, I can see why they changed it.
I can't believe... I haven't even read that feature, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's okay. Wow, I didn't realize how bad that was before. Because and then the next feature is the one everybody knows. The highlight of open hand is quivering palm. No longer able to deal an uncapped amount of damage, reducing a creature with any number of hit points to 0, which was too powerful for the number of discipline points. If it was that strong, I don't know why I didn't see any 17th level monks ever in the game. I don't know. Like, I don't think it was overpowered before, but anyway, we'll read it. When you hit a creature with an iron strike, you can spend 3 discipline points to start these imperceptible vibrations, which last for a number of days equal to your monk level. The vibrations are harmless unless you use your action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the target must make a con save, taking 10d12 plus your monk level of force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. You can only have one creature under the effect of this feature at a time. You can end the vibrations harmlessly without using an action. Whereas before, was still 3 key points. Yeah, so if they failed the Constitution saving throw before, they just immediately went to 0 hit points. And then on a success, they took 10d10 necrotic damage. Which, at 17th level, I actually think that's pretty cool.
That feels fine.
They nerfed this pretty bad. I don't think it was too strong before.
An uncapped amount,
uncapped,
0,
there's dead instantly. Legendary resist exists, like...
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can defend well against something like that. It's also 17th level. Like, we got 8th level spells on the field, almost 9th level spells.
Well, yeah, so you need to hit them, spend 3 discipline points, which is already one of your actions, and then on your next turn you need to use another action to end this and do that damage.
Pricey.
Yeah, whereas Wizard over here is using one action to do 40d6 damage to the entire battlefield.
Yeah. Yeah, I
mean, this has way more uses than Meteor Swarm, but...
Yeah, but this also... I think the old one was A-okay. I mean...
Yeah, I think the old one was
lots of
fine.
defenses, like you said before, to protect... I mean, most creatures have a high... Not most, but a good chunk of them have high Constitution saves. So, there's that first line, and then you have legendary resistances as well, too.
It was pretty much just a guaranteed 10d10 damage before, which... I honestly think they can just make it 10d12, and it's fine. I think dying on a fail is not that crazy at 17th level.
Yeah.
Against one creature.
Isn't Power Word Kill 8th level, or is that 9th?
Power Word Kill is 9th.
9th, okay.
Which
And then
they actually changed that too in this
Okay.
playtest.
So is that one no longer?
Power word kill is still 100 hit points or fewer, but if they're higher than that, then they take damage instead.
I think this is on the same playing field. So yeah, I've said
So
what I
yeah, they
said.
get them at the same level, so it should be about as good as power word kill.
When you've worked your way through a lot of levels of monk, you should be rewarded with good things.
Yeah, straight classing definitely used to be way more rewarding.
You should get a nice little pat on the back for going through all levels of one class and resisting the temptation to take a level in fighter or something, or cleric.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the last monk subclass. They just tell you to use the Way of Mercy from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything for the 4th one. I guess the one thing we didn't say that we have talked about off camera is giving weapon mastery to unarmed strikes. It's an idea I've seen, and I think it's a really good one, because like that would make it unique to the monk, and like we talked about, there's no real reason to use weapons past level 5, so it would be really nice if at level 5 or around there they could start applying weapon masteries to their fists somehow.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Some sort of, and so I played a monk in Pathfinder, and they had hand wraps that they're magic items, and I think you can apply different stuff to those things to do different stuff. You might.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm wrong, but maybe something like that. I don't know. It wouldn't be. I don't think it should be like a magic item that you have to be locked behind or something. But yeah, something. Maybe even something special for unarmed strikes, where it's like its own special mastery that's not what any other classes have access to, like an entirely new one.
that could be cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's our only real like final thought.
Yeah.
We haven't gone over yet.
Alrighty, so thanks for watching. If you'd like to check out our last video where we talked about the rogue, you can click here. Have a great rest of your day.